How you doing, everybody? We're gonna watch the Fetterman and Oz, Pennsylvania debate. I think it's kind of important because, well, this video is hard to find actually, the full debate. I don't know why that is, but to make it fair use, although it's a public video, I'm going to be talking over it. If you don't like that, I'm sorry, but I got to do that for fair use and what have you, and not make YouTube mad and say, well, you're just reusing content. You're just putting up content that's already there. It's a public video, just like a news organization can share this video. I can share the video. They hand it out to news organizations to use. Well, I'm going to show you the whole thing, but we're going to stop, rewind, what have you. I'm going to give my opinions. Might be right, might not be. I'm only human, right? But I'm a person of society. I'm a citizen of this country. And maybe my take is wrong, but if I'm viewing it like that, there's probably hundreds, probably thousands of people that are going to also view it that way. So let's have a look at this video now.
Tonight, Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman and Dr. Mehmet Oz face to face for the first and only time. Both men looking to prove they have what it takes to represent the people.
And it's a long video, by the way, 57 minutes.
Back to New Jersey.
I stand for Pennsylvania values, and I'm proud of it.
Live from the ABC 27
Which
studios
means
in
after I talk over this,
is
it's
the
probably
Pennsylvania
an hour and a half
US
long.
Debate.
2 hours maybe. We'll see.
Welcome to Debate Night in America. I'm Leland Vittert from News Nation. The stakes tonight could not be higher, not only for the Keystone State, but for the country. Control of the U.S. Senate for either party runs through Pennsylvania. Dennis Owens.
That is true. It is important because it could flip the Senate. And that's why it's important.
WHTM political reporter and anchor here in Harrisburg, along with Lisa Sylvester from WPXI in Pittsburgh, will moderate tonight's debate. We want to welcome our viewers watching tonight from across the country on News Nation. Voters can watch this debate in all 67 Pennsylvania counties on 9 television stations serving the Commonwealth. Before we get started, let's go over tonight's rules. Mr. Fetterman, Mr. Oz, you will have 60 seconds to answer each question. If there's a follow-up question or rebuttal, you will have up to 30 seconds. Each candidate will also have 90 seconds for a closing statement. When your time is up, you'll hear this bell. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Dennis and Lisa.
Thank you, Leland.
These things are really not debates. I've always said that about, I don't care if it's the presidential or what have you. They're not debates. You don't really get a debate. It's like a question and answer session, and I don't know. You don't really learn too much about them if you already know about the candidates. I honestly don't know too much about either because I kind of stopped following the news.
Good evening, candidates who moments ago just met for the first time. We're happy to have you here. Welcome to our audience watching at home, on air, online, and on News Nation. And we encourage everyone who is watching tonight to share your thoughts on social media. Remember to use the hashtag PA Senate Debate.
And you may notice these large monitors that are behind us. This is part of our closed captioning system. It was requested by John Fetterman to help him process the questions that we are asking him tonight, and approved by both campaigns, and both candidates can see the monitors.
One of the screens will show only the questions being asked tonight. The second screen will caption the questions and responses from Mehmet Oz. We have live.
You're not capable of having a normal debate or a question and answer session, so you need these tools. How are you going to work for the people if you need aids like this? You're not going to be able to. I'm sorry, you can't do the job. I guess Fetterman had a stroke, and well, he's probably not fit for the job. I'm already going in this bias because, I mean, if you can't, if you need aids like these monitors to try to help you and you have notes and this and that, then you're not going to be able to do the job. I'm sorry.
Experienced captioners in studio to ensure we are as accurate as possible in what's sure to be a fast-paced program.
And just a note, for those of you using closed captioning at home, the captions you see are not tied to the captions that the candidates will see here tonight.
Thank you, Lisa. With that, let's get started. Mr. Fetterman, we're going to begin with you. Your political experience includes serving as the mayor of Braddock, a small borough near Pittsburgh, and one term as lieutenant governor. You're running for a seat that could decide the balance of power in Washington. What qualifies you to be a U.S. Senator? You have 60 seconds.
Hi, good night, everybody.
Hi, good night, everybody. Let's go back.
You have 60 seconds.
Hi, good night, everybody.
U.S. Senator, you have 60 seconds.
Hi, good night, everybody.
Okay, so he already starts off not competent to be in the Senate, to hold any government office. He just needs to stay in his parents' basement and call it a day. I mean, he's done as far as the workforce in any normal job. Maybe a Walmart greeter, a bagger, maybe he can be a cashier. I don't know. He might get the money confused, though.
I'm running to serve Pennsylvania. He's running to use Pennsylvania. Here's a man that spent more than $20 million of his own money to
That's a bad thing, spending $20 million of your own money.
try to buy that seat. I'm also having to talk about something called the Oz rule, that if he's on TV, he's lying. He did that during his career on his TV show. He's done that during his campaign about lying about our record here. And he's also lying probably during this debate. And let's also talk about the elephant in the room. I had a stroke. He's never let me forget that. And
yeah, and it's apparent that you shouldn't be trying to seek a public office because you just out of the gate are not capable. Now, I'm not a public speaker either. I stumble, I stutter, I have issues because I'm not a public speaker. You've been a mayor, you've been a one-term lieutenant governor, and that stroke, I'm going to assume, I don't know anything about your past, that because Pennsylvania, and I don't live in Pennsylvania, that you were a better talker and smoother. Obviously, something's wrong with your brain, and you're having trouble putting your thoughts out there as far as the words. So, I'm all for somebody, people got on Trump for not being a smooth speaker, but at least you could understand him. I already don't know where this guy is going because he's all, he's hard. He's hard to listen to because he's not really putting coherent sentences together.
I might miss some words during this debate, mush two words together, but it knocked me down, but I'm going to keep coming back up. And this campaign is all about, to me, is about fighting for everyone in Pennsylvania that ever got knocked down, that needs to get back up, and fighting for all forgotten communities all across Pennsylvania that also got knocked down, that needs to get back up.
Thank you.
That needs to get back up. I mean, like I said, I'm not a public speaker. He is, and he already failed. Just that opening, he failed. I can see why people are talking about this, and that's why I wanted to watch this. And when I went to look for it and couldn't find it, I'm like, and eventually did find it, I'm like, hey, look, I gotta bring this to you because people should watch this. Hopefully Pennsylvania people should watch. I don't even care if you will see this after the election and maybe he's elected. At least it's there as a record that this guy is horrible.
Very much, Mr. Fetterman. Mr. Oz, you are a doctor, a businessman, and television personality. But this is your first run for elected office. What qualifies you?
No. I think Dr. Oz is a quack, his TV show. Never liked the guy. I don't know too much about him at all. So I'm open. I'm open to see what he does.
To be a U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania,
Or
you
says,
have
I
60
should
seconds.
say.
I'm running for the U.S. Senate because Washington keeps getting it wrong with extreme positions. I want to bring civility, balance, all the things that you want to see because you've been telling it to me on the campaign trail. And by doing that, we can bring us together in a way that has not been done of late. Democrats, Republicans talking to each other. John Fetterman takes everything to an extreme, and those extreme positions hurt us all. Let's take crime as an example because it's been such a big problem. Maureen Faulkner accompanied me today to the studio. You know that her husband was a police officer in Philadelphia, was brutally murdered. John Fetterman, during this crime wave, has been trying to get as many murderers convicted and sentenced to life in prison out of jail as possible, including people who are similar to the man who murdered her husband. He does it without with the rest of the parole board agreeing. He's doing it without the families on board. These radical positions extend beyond crime to wanting to legalize all drugs, to open the border, to raising our taxes. I want Washington to be civil again. When you need it to be less radical, John Fetterman, unfortunately, would bring that.
Mr. Oz, thank you. Lisa.
All right, gentlemen.
Yeah, you can tell Oz is not a public speaker. He does have some experience having a TV show, but I'm guessing a lot of that is, pre-planned with a script of having an idea of what you're going to say and maybe even reading it. I don't know. Don't know how his TV show works. Never watched it. So, he stuttered too, but okay, I'm going to keep an open mind here. I mean, he is right. I don't believe in how DC is being run. So, right there, I'm obviously siding with Oz.
On to the economy. Pennsylvanians are struggling to put...
See, that's why it's not a debate, because we just moved on to another question.
...food on the table and gas in their cars. Our Next Star Emerson College The Hill poll shows the economy and inflation are the biggest concerns for voters. 39% of them listed that as the top issue. Beginning with you, Mr. Oz. You have blamed President Biden and reckless Democratic spending for the inflation crisis, but voters would like to hear your specific plan to cut spending. Please explain in 60 seconds.
Well, if you ask the U.S. government, they'll tell you they have 4% waste and fraud. Now, I've traveled over the Commonwealth and spoken to countless people. There was a lady in Beaver County at a county fair who told me with fear in her heart that she wanted to provide food for her son's highly nutritious chicken she wanted. She couldn't afford it anymore. That's a big problem. If we've got 4% waste and fraud, we ought to be able to take care of that. John Fetterman's, however, response continually is to raise taxes. He raised taxes as mayor. He tried to raise taxes as lieutenant governor, 46%. That's a big tax rate. He supported Joe Biden's recent tax rate increase, and he's done that without paying his own taxes 67 times. I'll say that again. He hasn't paid his own taxes 67 times, but he's raising mine and yours. Those are
So is that true? Has he raised taxes that much? Has he not paid his own taxes?
Radical positions, they're extreme, they're out of touch with the values of Pennsylvanians, and I can make the difficult decisions, as you do in the operating room as a surgeon. I'll make them cutting our budget as well, to make sure we don't have to raise taxes on a population already desperately in pain from the high inflation rate.
Mr. Fetterman, I will allow a 15-second rebuttal. He has specifically said you have not paid your taxes and that you want to raise taxes on Americans. How do you respond?
Absolutely. The Oz rule, of course, he's lying.
Absolutely. The Oz rule. He is lying. So absolutely you want to raise taxes and Oz is lying? See, that didn't
was helping two students 17 years ago to help them buy their own homes. They didn't pay the bills, and it got her paid, and it has never been an issue in any of the campaign before.
Wait, what?
And it has never, they didn't pay the bills 15 years ago to help them buy their own homes. They didn't pay the bills, and it got her paid, and it has never been an issue in any of the campaign before. It was all about nonprofit.
All right.
That absolutely made 0 sense. What was that? Oh my, now I know why people are talking about this.
Thank you, Mr. Fetterman.
You can't find it.
Continuing with
It's
you, Mr.
embarrassing.
Fetterman, your opponent has...
How are you defending Fetterman? I don't even like Oz. But if I had to pick the two, just right what I see now, I'd pick Oz. And I would or I just not vote. Or do a write-in if you can do a write-in. But I definitely couldn't vote for Fetterman.
Criticized Democratic spending, as you heard. Has the...
I mean, I'm 7 minutes, 38 seconds into this, and this is what I'm telling you. Wow. If a normal person's watching this, just like I'm a normal person, a lot of people came across that Fetterman stunk at this debate, and that's why I'm seeing news saying that. And then you got some people, I think they're bots, will say, "Oh, he just has a speaking problem. Stop picking on the poor guy." Well, he put himself out there after having a stroke. Most people who have a stroke, you'd be like, I'm not 100%, and maybe I should pass on this.
Biden administration overspent, and if so, where do you think spending should be cut? You have 60 seconds.
No, here's what I think we have to fight about inflation here right now. That's what we need to fight about, inflation. Right now, because it's a tax on working families. And Dr. Oz can't possibly understand what that is like. He has 10 gigantic mansions. We must push back against.
He has 10 gigantic mansions. I don't know if that's true, how many homes Oz has. He has made good money. I'm sure he does have quite a few homes and investments in real estate and what have you. Why is that a bad thing? That shows you, in America, you can make it. No, but let's go after the wealthy, because the wealthy are evil. They're evil. What a joke.
Corporate greed. We must make sure that we're also pushing back against price gouging as well, too. We also be able to make more in Pennsylvania and make more in America. When he had a choice to make his merchandise, the Oz label is on, he made it all in China.
Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, but that suit you're wearing is probably made in Taiwan, China, Indonesia. That tie, probably the same thing. That shirt, same thing. That mic you're talking into, probably made in China. It's an unfortunate world, but that is who makes a lot of shit. And that needs to change. I think most people agree with that, but it's a hard thing to change. You can't just overnight pull stuff out of China and say, we're going to make it at home, or it might never be able to be made here because of the labor rates. You might have to say, okay, we can tolerate India. India's better. Let's put it there, or maybe another country, And I'm definitely not against Chinese products, because everything I'm looking at, my computer, my camera here, the mic, the LED light, everything, it's made in China or Taiwan.
Who can you believe that can fight against inflation and pushing back against corporate greed, or somebody that is choosing working in China versus over American workers?
All right.
No, we all want American workers, but there's some products that will never be made. God, people got on Trump. Oh, he makes his stuff in China. Well, a lot of the stuff he did not. That was false. Like the hats and stuff. But, yes, he has a line of clothing, and yes, it was made overseas, because that's where you go for the textile industry. But sadly, there's people watching this that are like, oh, yeah, that's shame on Oz. He has no control over where the industry is if he wants products made. Just if I want to get Meeker Extreme shirts made, they're probably going to be shirts made from out of China, because there's some USA brands, but then it's cost. God, unless you're doing a brand, a label that's going to be, where you can charge $5,000 for that suit, it's just, you're not going to be able to just make it anywhere. If you're going for lowest cost of normal people can buy the stuff, you're going to have to look at countries that can provide that. We are a world economy, and we always will be for some things, but we can pick the countries that make those products a little bit better. We can say, China, you want to destroy Taiwan, you want to be the world power, you want to take over the world with your Belt and Road Initiative. Look, we're going to start slowly, encourage companies to slowly, what they can, move to. If they can't bring it to the U.S., go elsewhere.
I will allow a 15-second rebuttal to his comments that you have been making things in China. Mr. Oz.
I've been trying to talk about policy issues with the people of Pennsylvania. As a doctor, I listen to their ideas and I want to talk about them. When John Fetterman brings up houses, the irony is he didn't pay for his own house. He got it for $1 from his sister. And he hasn't been able to earn a living on his own. He's lived off.
Is that true? Did he really pay $1? Did he just get a free house? I know he lives like in his parents' basement or something like that. So I've heard. So if that's true, I mean, this guy for his age doesn't seem like he's made anything of himself, really.
Off his parents. So
Off his
it's not a topic that we should be debating on the stage. We should be talking about crime and inflation, the issues that are hurting Pennsylvanians that they're talking about at their kitchen table.
No, that's like he got his Pennsylvania
All right,
house
Mr. Fetterman.
from his own inlays from $1.
Mr.
That's
Fetterman, we have
typical.
to continue on. We'll continue on with the
Inlays? Does he mean in-laws? I've never heard it called inlays from his inlays for a doc. I think Dr. Oz has made quite a bit of money. He buys his own stuff. Maybe he has inherited something. Who cares?
question, a follow-up question to you, Mr. Oz. This one is just for you. You tweeted in August that you will never stop fighting to lower gas prices for Pennsylvanians. Does that include supporting a suspension of the federal gas tax? You have 30 seconds.
I'm supportive of reducing taxes, but we want to be thoughtful about the long-term game plan to get gas taxes down and, frankly, all energy prices down. I have gone around the Commonwealth. I've witnessed people say, I'm not going on vacation this year because I can't afford to pay to take my trailer to the campground. They can't even get there. What we have to do is ensure that we don't have increased inflation, and the best way to do that is reduce gas prices. John Fetterman.
Now, somebody might be like, well, he avoided the question about the tax. No, I think he didn't directly answer, but at the same time, I feel like I have a brain that he is saying like, hey, look, I can't just say I'm gonna not have a gas tax. That would be irresponsible. We're gonna have to have some sort of gas tax. And he has to be careful what he says in these settings, just like Fetterman has to be careful, because that will be used against you to say, look, Oz says he would not get lower gas taxes, and here's the little clip from the debate. And that's not what he meant. So that's why they kind of talk around stuff at these debates, unfortunately. I do realize that. I wish they could be more open and stuff from these debates couldn't be used in campaign ads. Maybe that's something that should be illegal to do. You have a debate, your opponent can't just take stuff. Well, of course, other people could, and you can't stop that. So, what are you gonna do? But let's see what he says.
Has gone after the energy industry, called it a stain on Pennsylvania, and argued we have to ban fracking. That is disconnected from Pennsylvanians.
Yeah. We need to explore. We have oil. We have energy in the United States. I like EVs. I think they're kind of neat. They're powerful. It's interesting. But I don't want to rely on China for that important energy need. It's not like getting a shirt or tie or a hat made in China. You could do that anywhere, but you can't get the heavy metals just from anywhere. In fact, China holds a lot of the resources for that, the heavy metals, the lithium, what have you. And Afghanistan actually does too, but we gave up Afghanistan and China went in there right away because, who controls that? Controls the EV market. And if we're serious about EVs, we really need to come up with a battery that can be made here at home and something that can be charged quickly and give you the range. And I don't know what that looks like because I'm not a scientist, but I would think if we want EVs, we would be investing heavily into scientists researching this, even on the federal level, because if we want to get off oil, if we want to be able to power our military with the next generation of energy, then, that's probably something we need to do, and you need to do that first before you mandate everyone have electric vehicles and this and that, because now if we all had electric vehicles, just imagine China could be like, yeah, you know what, we're taking Taiwan, we're at war, we're not shipping anything out to America and to the West. Oh, too bad your vehicles don't run, too bad you can't produce your vehicles because you've stopped producing internal combustion engines. Too bad. Okay, let's continue.
Thank you, Mr. Oz. We will get to the issue of fracking later on in this discussion, but meantime, turning back
Nothing
to
wrong
you,
with
Mr.
fracking.
Fetterman, for a follow-up. In an op-ed for the Wilkes-Barre Times Leader,
Look, I want Fetterman to answer the same question so I can compare their answers. That's why these are not debates. These are question and answer sessions, because they skip to something else. I want to hear Fetterman talk about energy.
you wrote, quote, "It is time we crack down on the big price gouging corporations that are making record profits while jacking up prices for all of us." How do you plan to do this?
Well, first of all, we could look at Pfizer and the manufacturers of the the various pills that, or I should say, the pokies that some people were forced to take due to jobs and whatnot. The record profits. I mean, that I'm upset with Trump about, the deal he should have made with them was like, look, we'll cover your costs, but you're not making money on this. You'll break even. You don't need to advertise it. It's being mandated. And at no time should you're doing this for the good of our country and good for the world if you truly believe in that. So, you know what? We'll cover your cost. We'll provide money towards the science and what have you, but you're not going to ever make a penny off this. That's how it should have been done. Instead, now you got well, hey, we provided this medicine, so wow, we've had record profits. Now we're going to provide even more because you got to get an update, and then, well, we need our stocks to continue to go up, so we're going to have another update today, and you're on your 5th update. I'm calling it update. You all know what I mean. Got to be careful with the YouTubes.
Sir, you mentioned going after price gouging corporations. How do you plan to do this? You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. We have to keep pushing back on that. And he would never make that choice to fight for families here in Pennsylvania. You know, he has never met an oil company that he doesn't swipe right about. You know, he has never been able to stand up for working families all across Pennsylvania. You know, we must push back. Inflation has hurt Americans and Pennsylvania's families, and it has given the oil companies record profits.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Turning to the next issue, Dennis.
The minimum wage in Pennsylvania and at the national level currently sits at $7.25 an hour and has not been increased since 2009. Each of our neighboring states has raised minimum wages. You see them there on your screen.
This is a touchy subject, and this is a way to buy votes by saying we're going to increase the minimum wage, blah, blah, blah. I think people in this day and age are able to haggle what they should be paid for. If people aren't working, the wages tend to be higher because businesses need to hire people. If you're relying on minimum wage, then it's probably a place you don't want to work there for long. Let's just face reality. But those that can't provide for themselves, haggle good, I don't know what it is, or get training, move up in the world, they get stuck at those minimum wages. Well, those minimum wages aren't meant to raise a family. They never were. The idea is, and there's nothing wrong with going to work at McDonald's and say you're getting $7.25 to start. The idea is you stay there a few months. They see you stuck around because, unfortunately, that type of the career field, if you want to call it a career, job path, people turn over fast. So a couple months, you're probably going to be at, $8.25 an hour. And if you stay a few years, you might be at, $10.25 an hour. Yeah, I get it. $10.25 is still low, but the idea is you're moving up and you should be gaining skills and maybe move into a management position. And you do that for a while. Maybe you're not making huge bucks as a manager of McDonald's at $15 an hour, let's say. But then the idea is you move to a better restaurant. You got a track record. Hey, I've worked at McDonald's for 2 years. And, I was able to move up to manager, and I did that position maybe for another year. So a total of 3 years there. And, that's why I'm applying at this place as a manager, because I have been in the food industry and I can move up and And, that new place is, maybe it's a fancier restaurant, and, they're willing to pay you, let's say 25, $30 an hour. That's the progression of somebody in the workforce. The idea that you should come in and just start making $13 an hour, $15 an hour. Well, okay, everyone that was making $15 an hour now wants a raise. So now those fast food places lay people off. There's more kiosk in my fast food places like McDonald's and Taco Bell here in Colorado because they have less workers. They get rid of the cashiers up front. They'll come and help you if you need help, but most people just go to the kiosk now. Even I do. I believe in hiring people. I believe in going, but you wait at those counters and no one wants to. Maybe they're told to discourage you from using them to put in your order because they're back there making food. They're not just running the cash register. Now they're running, they're making food and the cash register should somebody need it. And, they've gotten rid of people because, well, they got kiosk. So I don't know. The progression of a job is you move up, and you should always strive to do better. Nothing wrong with being a waitress or waiter. You can make six figures in a good restaurant because of the tip system, and some people want to do away with tip system. Other people, you know, it should be a tip. It should be based on, but that's a whole nother story. But the idea is you should move up. You start as a waitress at local diner, and then you move up to maybe more of a chain restaurant, and maybe then you move up to the fancy restaurant where the average bill is a couple $100, for a couple to go eat at. And then if people are tipping, and I tip pretty dang good, especially if it's night on town, I feel like giving because just provide good service, and I feel like you can easily earn, a pretty big tip for doing not much more than taking an order and bringing me food. Yeah, it's hard work, but it's easier than other jobs out there. Anyways, there's a progression to work, and I feel people don't do it correctly. They want to start making like $15 an hour to start. That's not the idea behind this. And I think we should do away with minimum wage and let people dictate their worth to others. I don't know. I mean, would companies start paying you $1? Well, no one's going to work for $1 an hour. I don't know.
Including New Jersey at $13 an hour and West Virginia at $8.75. But Pennsylvania has not followed suit. The first question is for you, Mr.
There's a lot of Amish in Pennsylvania too, just by the way, if you didn't know that. So, wonder if that kind of plays a role.
Fetterman, do you support raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour? Why or why not? You have 60 seconds.
$15.
Yeah, I do, absolutely. I think it's a disgrace at $7.25 an hour. And how can a man, with 10 gigantic mansions, has unwilling to talk about a willing wage for anybody? Imagine a single mom trying with 2 children, trying to raise with them, realizing making $31,000 a year, $15 an hour. I believe every work has dignity and every paycheck must.
But you should strive to do better than the $31,000 a year. You should work your way up. And maybe we need to teach in schools and universities that keep your legs closed. Keep it in your pants for the guys, keep your legs closed for the girls. And hey, maybe you shouldn't have a child until you're capable of supporting that child. And on $15 an hour, you're probably not capable of supporting one child, let alone 2 children. I'm just saying, people, you gotta think about it. It's not meant to raise a family on. Minimum wages are meant to start out on.
Have dignity in it as well. True, I've always supported a living wage, and we make.
What is a living wage? Look, why not? You're gonna have to pay everyone $100,000 a year. Let's just imagine you do that, because there's gonna be some nut that sees my video and says, "Well, why don't we just pay everyone $100,000 a year?" Okay, as a landlord, I'm gonna raise your rent to $5,000 a month. I can eat up your costs real quick. Why? Cars, automobiles. Think they're expensive now. If everyone got $100,000 a year, that $20,000 car is now 60 because the auto manufacturers know you can pay it. Well, that's not fair, Mark. That's not fair. That's life. You know, my house, my house would, man, it's already doubled because of the craziness, but it would probably triple, quadruple in price because we each have an extra $100,000 a year. I mean, what number is a number? I mean, 15 bucks an hour. Why not 25 bucks an hour? Why not 35 bucks an hour? Why not 55 bucks an hour? Why not 100 bucks an hour? You're trying to put worth on people. It's really kind of scary that you're saying somebody's only worth 15 bucks an hour. Aren't they worth 100 bucks an hour? How about 1,000 bucks an hour? Honestly, come on. It's stupid.
Make sure that everyone has economic security.
I have a follow-up for you, Mr. Fetterman. What do you say to small business owners who have told us that if the minimum wage were increased to $15 an hour, it would put them out of business? You have 30 seconds.
Now, we all have to make sure that everyone that works is able to, that's the most American bargain, that if you work full-time, you should be able to live.
Work full-time, that's always the key because a lot of workers are not full-time anymore. That gets companies, even good-sized companies or pretty profitable companies, out of paying various things, you know, because you're not a full-time worker.
In dignity as well, true. And I believe they haven't have any businesses being you can't have businesses being subsidized by not paying individuals that just simply can't afford to pay their own way.
Okay. Mr. Fetterman, thank you. Mr. Oz, turning to you. Do you support raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour? Why or why not? You have 60 seconds.
I think market forces have already driven up the minimum wage. I was with a hotel worker actually here in Harrisburg a few months ago, and he was telling me how hard it was to live on the $15 an hour that he was getting paid. John Fetterman shoots too low. We want much more money than that. And there are many ways to achieve that, but John Fetterman thinks the minimum wage is his weekly allowance from his parents. He's not really cognizant of the real challenges of business owners who've got to balance that with employees.
Yeah, because if I got to pay $15 an hour more, what I'm going to do before I go out of business is I'm going to raise my prices. And we'll see if I can handle it. Now, Walmart can like absorb a lot of that because if you want to talk about big company profits, well, there you go. But they pass the costs. Traditionally, you pass the cost on to your customers. You got to pay more taxes? I pass the cost on to you. I raise my product 50 cents. I got to pay employee more? I raise my product a few bucks more. You know? That's what happens. So you don't end up making $15 an hour. You end up at the same place where you were because everything went up. Inflation.
Thankfully, we have a solution. And John, you didn't answer the question. You can't put businesses out of commission in order to pay more wages because the wages will go to zero, which is John Fetterman's radical.
That's true. Businesses go under, then it's zero, right? No one's getting paid.
Plan if you really follow it to conclusion. Here's what I would do. We have one of the richest energy states in the country. I believe if we could unleash the energy beneath our feet here in Pennsylvania, there'd be plenty of money to go around. We'd have increased wages, a more reason for students to take vocational classes, to be able to learn trades, which I'm strongly supportive of. We'd also be able to pipe that gas, improve our economy, and reduce inflation. That's a plan that works, and it's humble enough that I can say broadly.
Thank you. I want to give you, Mr. Fetterman,
See, Republicans are always nice. They stop pretty much on the bell or close to it. And that's why I don't consider these debates.
15-second follow-up to what he just said about you.
I know you got to have some rules.
Again, it's remarkable. He hasn't really had any answer that he actually had about that in his. He doesn't want to talk about having somebody having a living wage and having somebody able to survive. Again.
And I want to come back to you now, Mr.
Really? That was your rebuttal? You use that time for your rebuttal. And you think he'll be a good senator because, yeah, he's not thinking.
Mr. Oz, for a quick follow-up, what do you say to those Pennsylvanians that he just spoke of that are trying to survive on $7.25 an hour, which is less than all of our neighbors. You have 30 seconds.
Oh, I don't think you should have to survive on $7.25 an hour. I want the minimum wage up as high as it can go. I want to highlight that I have an agenda for prosperity, unlike John Fetterman. I want us all getting paid a lot more than $15. And I answered your question directly in a way that would preserve business owners, job creators, so they thrive, and we'd have lots more employees entering the workforce and then prospering, getting paid $25, $35, $45 an hour. But we're never going to get there if we don't unleash our energy. And John Fetterman's stubbornness on calling it a stain on Pennsylvania is an insult to those workers.
To be clear, you said you want people making a lot more, but that's not through a federal law of minimum wage. That's through market forces?
Market forces should drive it up anyway, and it's already done that.
Thank you.
You know, you should be able to get paid much more than $15 an hour.
Thank you. Lisa.
All right, thank you.
I agree, yeah. I mean, if we're in a good market, you're going to get paid more. Don't take the job if it's less. I mean, we live in a world where you can go online and Google a company and a specific, if it's a franchise or something, be like, this place treats me bad, they pay off all no benefits, and there's already plenty of those sites. So, you know, if you're staying at a place that is not treating you well, there's something wrong with you. Move on. You got to be positive about yourself in this world.
Gentlemen, another big issue for voters is abortion. Mr. Oz, we will begin with you. You say that you're pro-life, but you do support abortion exceptions in the cases of rape, incest, and to protect the life of the mother. Aside from those three exceptions, should abortion be banned in America? 60 seconds.
There should not be involvement from the federal government in how states decide their abortion decisions. As a physician, I've been in the room when there's some difficult conversations happening. I don't want the federal government involved with that at all. I want women, doctors, local political leaders, letting the democracy that's always allowed our nation to thrive to put the best ideas forward so states can decide for themselves. Contrast that with my opponent, John Fetterman, who on this debate stage said that he would demand federally mandated rules for all states they'd have to follow that would allow abortion at 38 weeks on the delivery table, and he would force it to be subsidized by taxpayers across the country no matter what their personal beliefs are. That's radical. That's extreme. That is out of touch with what the average voter in Pennsylvania believes is appropriate. Now, ironically, John Fetterman's been running ads on this topic, dishonest ads. I need to correct the record. They were so bad, they got pulled off television stations. I've got, even on this station, he was running dishonest ads that I had pulled off. I haven't had a single ad pulled down. My ads tell the truth. John Fetterman's are a fiction of his imagination.
All right, I'm going to let Mr. Fetterman respond
I don't live there, so I don't know.
specifically about the ads being pulled off the air, and then we will return to you, Mr. Oz. Mr. Fetterman.
Yeah, I want to look into the face of every woman in Pennsylvania. You know, if you believe that the choice of your reproductive freedom belongs with Dr. Oz, then you have a choice. But if you believe that the choice for abortion belongs between you and your doctor, that's what I fight for. Roe v. Wade, for me, should be the law. He celebrated when Roe v. Wade went down, and my campaign would fight for Roe v. Wade, and if given the opportunity, to codify it into law.
I'm sad people would vote based on the Supreme Court making a ruling giving power back to the states. The abortion didn't end. It's about your state and your local government. You need to vote people if you believe in abortion, then there will be areas of the country that will have abortion. There will be areas of the country that don't. It just went back to the states. It went back to the states deciding on that. What is wrong with that? It's a very complicated issue. I personally don't care one way or the other. I don't. Somebody has to live with the choice if they're going to abort a baby. They got to live with that. On the flip side, I don't think you should be having sex just to have sex and then be like, I'm just going to get an abortion. This is my 5th one. And there are people like that. And that's scary and that's sad. And, if you don't want to have kids, maybe we need to identify those people that don't want to have kids. And maybe they have low cost or free ways to, get for guys, get snipped, women, get their tubes tied. And in that way, they can run around and do what they want to do. And then they don't have that repercussion in the drain on society. But and the drain on society is by having a kid, you didn't want the kid, and then everyone else is taking care of the kid. Although adoption should be a lot easier than it is and cheaper too. There's no reason why it should cost what it costs. We should reform that, and then if you have the kid, then you didn't have to get an abortion. You had a kid and it went to a good loving family, and then it was able to live and what have you. But some of the extremists on the left want to abort a baby after it's born. That's murder. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm okay with you getting abortions, although I wouldn't myself. I think it's silly. As I've gotten older, I just think you've made the decision. You gotta live with that decision. But I don't know. It's a tough one. That's why I say it's a tough one, and I wouldn't vote for a candidate based on either way on that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Going back to you, I want to circle back to something that you said, Mr. Oz. You mentioned the decision to regulate abortion should be something that is left up to the states. Now, Republican Senator
Nothing
Lindsey
wrong with
Graham
that.
has introduced a federal bill to ban abortion after 15 weeks. I know that you've been asked about this question before. If the vote were held today, you were elected senator, you're on the Senate floor, the clerk calls you, there's a roll call vote. Are you a yay or a nay? How would you vote on the Lindsey Graham bill? You have 30 seconds.
Lisa, I don't even need 30 seconds. I'll give you a bigger answer. I am not going to support federal rules that block the ability of states to do what they wish to do. The abortion decision should be left up to states, and specifically when John Fetterman...
You roll with Doug Mastriano.
John, when I'm done, John, you'll have your turn,
Mr.
John.
One moment, Mr. Fetterman. Continue, Mr.
I've been
Oz.
very clear on my desire as a physician not to interfere with how states decide. So when John purposely, knowingly misrepresents that to women, he scares them. He's purposely trying to alarm them, and the fear-mongering isn't working. Running tens of millions of dollars of ads claiming that I'm against all abortions when he knows that's not right, claiming that I'm going to be strict with Pennsylvania when he knows that's not honest. I can't be any clearer that I've been on the stage today. John Fetterman, if you just hear that one story today, I'd be really happy, but I know you're not going to, because you're going to go right back to telling the fables that you believe.
Mr. Oz, I want a 15-second clarification. You are saying that you would leave it up to the states, that the federal government does not have a role here.
I totally agree with that. It's a states issue.
So are you saying you would not vote for the Lindsey Graham bill?
Any bill that violates what I said, which is the federal government interfering with a state rule on abortion, I would vote against. What I feel strongly about is that women in Pennsylvania understand what I'm saying and not believe that someone who's taken an extreme position...
Yeah, it's on a state level. This shouldn't have nothing to do with federal government.
...like John Fetterman represents them, because most women do not believe that we should, at a federal level, codify 38 weeks of permission to have an abortion and have taxpayers pay for it.
So a yes or no on the Lindsey Graham bill?
I think I've answered this very, very clearly 3 times, Lisa.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Oz.
Yeah, he'd vote no. It was pretty clear.
Turning to
He
you,
even
Mr.
said
Fetterman,
no.
you have frequently stated your belief that abortion should be safe and legal. Do you support any limits on when a woman can have an abortion? Please explain in 60 seconds.
You know, what I support on Roe v. Wade. That was the law of the land for 50 years. He celebrated when it fell down, and I would fight to reestablish on Roe v. Wade. That's what I run on. That's what I believe, and I've always believed that the choice belongs women and their doctors, and he believes that the choice should be with him or Republican legislators all across this nation.
It will still be with their doctors. It's just went back to the states as far as whether it's legal or not legal. So thus, you have more control because you can vote yes or no depending on the candidates. They're running for Senate. They're not running for a state office, so it doesn't matter for Pennsylvania. Oz won't make that call for Pennsylvania. Basically, what he said was, if Pennsylvania goes that way, it goes that way. It's a state rights issue.
All right.
I'm sorry, I must correct that. Once again, he's misrepresented what I've said, but he also said something very dishonest. On this debate stage, he said very specifically, in his primary debate, when he was still debating, that he would support 38 weeks of mandated rules by the federal government that would prevent any state from blocking it. So that's not Roe versus
That's not
Wade.
true. I support Roe v. Wade. That's the simple.
John,
Roe
you
v. Wade.
said specifically you would support
All right,
a
thank you,
federal
Mr.
rule
Oz.
on
Mr.
38
Oz,
weeks.
thank you.
But how
Thank
can,
you.
that's,
We-
I think
we
it's
wa-
important that John at least acknowledge that he's not honest here, because you said the
All right.
Yeah, this is a debate. They should be able to debate back and forth. That's where I don't agree with this whole thing, and I'll keep saying it. I just don't agree with how these are called debates. They're not debates.
It's
Mr.
on
Oz, we
TV.
must continue on. Mr. Fetterman, turning to you, we have a follow-up question. Would you support allocating federal funds to transport women who live in states where abortion is banned to states where they can get one, and why? 30 seconds.
I would. I would, because I believe abortion rights is a universal right for all women in America. I believe that abortion is health care, and I believe that that is a choice that belongs with each woman and their doctor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Turning to the next issue, Dennis.
Thank you, Lisa. Let's turn to what has become one of the key themes of this race, fitness to serve. For these individual questions, there will be no rebuttals allowed. Mr. Fetterman, we begin with you. You suffered, as you mentioned a moment ago, a stroke 4 days before the May primary. Last week, you released this note from your doctor saying you can work full duty in public office, but you have not released your detailed medical records surrounding your stroke. Mr. Fetterman, will you pledge tonight to release those records in the interest of transparency? You have 60 seconds.
No. To me, for transparency is about showing up. I'm here today to have a debate.
It was hard to get you to show up for this debate, from my understanding, too. So,
speeches in front of 3,000 people in Montgomery County, all across Pennsylvania, big crowds. I believe if my doctor believes that I'm fit to serve, and that's what I believe is appropriate. And now with 2 weeks before the election, I have run a campaign, and I've been very transparent about being very open about the fact where I use captioning. And I believe that, again, my doctors, the real doctors that I believe in, they all believe that I'm ready to be served.
Follow up,
I'm ready to be served. He's not ready to serve anything. He had a stroke. It messed him up. I don't know much about the guy before. Maybe I still wouldn't have agreed with a lot of his stuff. But he's definitely not all there. We already have one leader that's not all there, so...
didn't hear you say you would release your full medical records. Why not? You have 30 seconds.
No, again, my Dr. L believes that I'm...
It's either yes or no. I mean, he could say, yes, I will, and just not do it, too. But no, he's not even going to do that. He's just, oh, my doctor believes, oh.
fit to be serving, and that's what I believe is where I'm standing.
Okay, Mr. Fetterman, thank you. Mr. Oz, you have built a lucrative career around medicine, but you've been criticized even by some fellow physicians for promoting, quote, unproven, ill-advised, and at times potentially dangerous treatments. What is your response to that? You have 60 seconds.
One of the great blessings of traveling around Pennsylvania is you run into people who have watched the show. They thank me very much for giving them life-saving advice on chronic issues like high blood pressure or dealing with their anxiety. The show did very well because it provided high-quality information that empowered people, which was exactly what I want to do when I'm a senator. Give people the power. Let them make decisions for their well-being. Now, John Fetterman's...
Ooh, I could see where he said make decisions for their well-being. Well, abortion for women, that's their well-being. Why can't they make their own decisions? But then again, it goes back to Roe versus Wade. It's just taking it from a federal level and making it the states decide. So they can still decide on their own issues.
approach to health is a very dangerous one. He believes we should socialize medicine. He embraced this with Bernie Sanders, who he endorsed. The two candidates called themselves the two most progressive people in America. When you have socialized medicine, Dennis, you shut down the ability of people to get access to health care. Doctors stop practicing. There are no medications available. The lines get long.
Yeah, I lived in Austria for 4 years. We befriended, because most of you come here for this video won't know this. I've talked about it in my other videos before, but we befriended a lady. My mother did in the park, and She was actually Austrian, even. She was actually Hungarian and was never actually formally a citizen of Austria, which they kind of got that worked around because she was like in her 90s. For her whole life, she had lived in Vienna in Austria. But she had to go to the hospital, and my mother went to see her, and my mother came back just crying in tears, and she goes, it was the worst experience. There's people laying in the hallway on gurneys naked, just laying there in a hospital, because, well, she had to go to where the free treatments were. There's still, which no one ever talks about in the US, there's still or not public, there's still private hospitals in these countries. And people with money, even a little bit of money, go to the private hospitals. You get better care. It's state of the art equipment. You're seen right away. So somebody that is wealthy in Vienna goes to a private hospital. In fact, they even come to the US or other countries to get their medical needs addressed. They don't rely on the public health system unless they have nothing else. They don't have the money. They don't, they can't. So they do. There's long lines to get in, and they put a value on your life. You're in your 90s, good luck. You're the value to society is a lot less. So the likelihood you're going to get some important treatment is going to be less likely than, say, that person that's in their 40s or 20s for the same treatment, because there's a value. You're 90. Honestly, they could help you, they could provide the treatment, and you could die tomorrow because you're old. Let's just face it. I mean, so there's a value added to people and whether they get the treatment or not. I've seen it firsthand. So, I do not want socialized medicine. I think we need to fix our system, no doubt about that. But I think it starts from the ground up, and I could go on and on about that because it's a complex thing you have to do to fix it. Like I said, ground up. I'll quickly ground up. You need to fix medical school costs. They don't need to cost as much as they do. Liability for doctors, it shouldn't cost as much as they do. You shouldn't be able to easily get sued unless it's blatantly, you did something egregious. Your Rolex fell off and you had to go back in for it. These medical companies that provide various things like mesh and this and that. Well, they provided you a treatment. It seemed like it was going to work. Without it, you might have had a miserable life and probably died, even depending on the medical device used. But yet, you still were able to live longer. Maybe you were in discomfort, but your whole life can't be guaranteed that you're going to be running around. Everyone is different. So there's that. And in the way medical billing is, and we need to fix how hospitals charge you. It should be something I walk in and you have a pretty good idea what it's going to cost to fix that ankle, because your ankle's not like anyone else's. Somebody else probably had the same thing. They should be able to at least put a close enough ballpark where you're pretty dang close. And another thing, insurance company, if I go in as self-pay, it shouldn't be a separate price, different price than what somebody somebody has health insurance, but they haven't negotiated right. Well, why don't I get the best rate? Why do I have to fight for things to get a better rate because I'm self-pay? So from the ground up needs fixed, and I think that would solve a lot of issues.
It's a disaster, and it puts people at risk. So I don't believe we should allow socialized medicine, the abolition of all private healthcare insurance in America, and radical positions like the ones taken by John Fetterman make him too extreme to...
Okay. We wouldn't do away with all health insurance. There would still be health insurance even if we did have a socialized type medicine, because there's going to be people like myself that can pay a little bit more for insurance to cover various things. It will cover maybe a private room. It will cover faster treatments or private hospitals. So there would still be insurance. It just wouldn't be as big as it is.
Serve. If we're going to bring balance to Washington, you got to bring people who understand the ramifications. Even Joe Biden called John Fetterman's idea, I'll quote him, preposterous.
Mr. Fetterman, I'm going to let you respond in just a minute,
Yeah, president says you're preposterous.
but I have a follow-up for you first, Mr. Oz. Did you or your company make a profit from promoting those products? You have 30 seconds.
I never sold weight loss products as described in those commercials. It's a television show, like this is a television show, so people can run commercials on the shows, and that's a perfectly appropriate and very transparent process. I ruffled a lot of feathers on my show because I told people the truth, and I'm proud of that. I'll do the exact same thing as a U.S. senator.
Go ahead.
But there's no way to defend what John Fetterman has done with socialized medicine. That is a radical departure from what we in America have accepted.
I must
relationship
respond
between
to
you,
that.
John, you'll have your turn. John, let me
I must
finish.
respond to that.
There must be a relationship between a doctor and a patient, and that's what I would direct patients to do.
Thank you. Mr. Fetterman,
I was gonna say, you should give him a few more seconds because John interrupted and obviously lost his train of thought, you know?
he accused you of socialized medicine, supporting socialized medicine. What is your response?
Again, it's the Oz rule. He's on TV and he's
The Oz rule. What the hell is that? That you just pulled that out of your ass to like try with saying catchy. Well, his group must have been like, we'll call it the Oz rule. That would be catchy. What the fuck does that even mean?
lying. I never supported any of that thing. You know, he keeps talking about Bernie Sanders. You know, 3 years ago he was on his show and he hugged him and he said, "I love this guy." You know what? Why don't you pretend that you live in Vermont instead of Pennsylvania and run against Bernie Sanders? Because all you can do is talk about Bernie Sanders. Because my truth is that healthcare is a basic fundamental right, and I believe in expanding that. And I believe
talk about Bernie Sanders. He's just briefly glossed over that. He didn't even he hasn't really talked about Bernie Sanders.
About supporting, fighting for healthcare, the kind of healthcare that saved my life.
Dennis, that was dishonest. He explicitly supported socialized
Mr. Oz,
medicine.
we have
Bernie
a lot
Sanders.
of topics to get to. I think we've finished. Lisa, you go ahead.
We are going to move on to the next topic, and this has come up earlier, and that is the issue of fracking. Pennsylvania only trails Texas in terms of natural gas production. Both of you have taken shifting positions on the issue of fracking. Mr. Oz, we begin with you. You wrote a column in 2014 calling for no fracking pending health study results. But in a video posted on social media in March, you said, quote, "Natural gas guarantees high-paying skilled jobs right here in Pennsylvania, so back off Biden, give us freedom to frack." Mr. Oz, please explain that changing position. 60 seconds.
I've been very consistent. Fracking has been demonstrated. It's a very old technology to be safe. It is a lifeline for this Commonwealth to be able to build wealth, similar to what they've been able to achieve in other states. For that reason, I strongly support fracking, drilling, the piping of that natural gas. In fact, I'd build a facility even in Philadelphia so we can export it to our allies and help them, the ones that are struggling now in Eastern and Western Europe because of the Ukrainian war. John Fetterman calls fracking a stain on Pennsylvania. He says that he would sign a moratorium to ban its continued use. He's against pipelines. He supported the vote against the Keystone pipeline that ended up shutting it down. He supports Biden's desire to ban fracking on public lands, which are our lands, all of our lands together. This is a extreme position on energy. If we unleashed our energy here in Pennsylvania, it would help everybody. Why John Fetterman is so rigidly stuck on fighting against energy companies is stunning to me, because it's the jobs I want. Tens of thousands of high-paying jobs to help Pennsylvanians.
Thank you, Mr. Oz.
Oz rule.
Mr. Fetterman, 15.
Well, here we go. Oz rule. That's what you're going to fall back on. That doesn't even mean anything.
Absolutely support fracking. In fact, I live across the street from a steel mill, and they were going to frack to create their own energy in order to make them more competitive. And I support that, living closer to anybody else in Pennsylvania for fracking to myself. I believe that we need independence with energy, and I believe I've walked that line my entire career. I believe Democrats...
Mr. Fetterman, I do have a specific question which you can continue on this topic, but you have made two conflicting statements regarding fracking. In a 2018 interview, you said, quote, "I don't support fracking at all. I never have." But earlier this month, you told an interviewer,
He just said on this show, he just said he supports it. He just said that.
quote, "I support fracking. I support the energy independence that we should have here in the United States." So, Mr. Fetterman, please explain your changing position. 60 seconds.
I've always supported fracking, And I always believe that independence with our energy is critical, and we can't be held, ransom to somebody like Russia. I've always believed that energy independence is critical, and I've always believed that, and I do support fracking. I've never taken any money from their industry, but I support how critical it is that we produce our own energy and create energy independence.
But you still can't explain why I mean, the explanation would be like, I saw that, it could be very useful for our energy independence and the security of our nation. So, yes, I've changed my viewpoint from not liking fracking to accepting it if it was done in a reasonable manner that is protecting the environment, but yet, we can still safely get the energy out of the ground. Something like that. And I'm not even an expert, I'm not a public speaker.
Independence.
I must correct the record.
Just a second, Mr. Oz. I do want to clarify something. You're saying tonight that you support fracking, that you've always supported fracking, but there is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, "I don't support fracking at all." So how do you square the two?
I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I stand, and I do support fracking.
Okay.
Oh my god. So he can't even explain his flip-flop, and I just did a better job than him. You can easily just explain it away as, people change and people understand that, How I was in my 20s, I'm not in my 40s. I just with time, I've changed. I mean, it can be real simple.
Thank you, Mr. Fetterman.
I'm sorry, Lisa, but there's not just a statement you read. There are multiple pictures of him signing a moratorium.
We have to move on.
But we have to get the fundamentals of the truth out here. John
we have
Fetterman
a
over
lot
and
of
over again
topics. We
took
have a lot of
positions against
topics.
energy.
Lady, this is a debate. In a debate, he should be able to come back. I know there should be but maybe there should be less questions and more debates. You're trying to fit in too many questions into one debate where they can't even really debate. That's why it's a question and answer session.
A lot of topics. You will have a chance to have that in your
Let me
closing.
one comment then. The energy industry
we
is
have
living
to
in
move
fear
on.
of
We
John
must move
Fetterman.
on,
I want
Dennis.
to know
On
why.
to the new
Mr. Oz,
topic.
we want to now turn to public safety. Mr. Fetterman, Republicans have called you dangerously soft on crime. The Pennsylvania State Troopers Association has endorsed Democrat Josh Shapiro for governor. But in this race, it endorsed your Republican opponent, Mr. Oz. What is your response to those endorsements? And what is your response to accusations that you are, quote, dangerously soft on crime? You have 60 seconds.
No. I believe that I run on my record on crime. I ran to be mayor back in 2005 in order to fight gun violence, and that's exactly what I did. In working with the police and working with our community, I was able to stop gun violence for 5.5 years as mayor. Ever accomplished before or since my time as mayor, because I'm the only person on this stage right now that was successful about pushing back against gun violence and being the community more safe. All he's done is just put a plan up on his website in the last 24 hours. He has no experience. He has never made any attempt to try to address crime during his entire career, except showing up for photo ops here in Philadelphia.
I will give you 15 seconds to respond to that, and then I have a question for you.
Okay. See, a real debate, you let Oz respond to crime and what he would do versus what Fetterman would do. What would Oz do if he was in that position? That I want to hear. 15 seconds? That's bullshit.
Internal order of police from Braddock, the small town he represented, endorsed me. They supported me because what he's saying is not true. Violence skyrocketed in Braddock. I mean, the town wasn't in a good shape when John got there. It got worse when he was there. People kept leaving. So, of course, you're going to have, all kinds of aberrations. But, John, the city was dangerous under your leadership, and that's why the
I want to turn
FOP
to you now,
endorsed me.
Mr. Oz. This past summer, Congress passed the first gun control bill in decades. That would not have happened without the support of the man you are running to replace, Pat Toomey. How would you have voted on that bill, and would you continue Toomey's legacy as being one of the lead Republicans in Congress on pushing for gun reforms? You have 60 seconds.
I have been supported by Pat Toomey. I've enjoyed working with him. I think he's done a wonderful job. There are parts of that bill that I like a lot. For example, I like the fact that there are background checks that are being strengthened now, so we can make sure that people who should not have guns don't get guns. I also like the fact that there was a lot of money invested for mental health, which is an important part of the equation. I've been to Philadelphia. I've done prayer vigils with black clergy leaders who are desperately trying to save the people in their community. Half the murders in Philadelphia are committed by people under 18. We have got to get mental health services to these people, and it's not happening now. But part of the problem is that we have taken away the ability of police to do their job, and that's on John Fetterman. Because John Fetterman has taken such a harsh position against them. He's undermined them at every level, taken away some of their funding. He's pushed for Krasner, who he admires tremendously, and he's spoken highly of him just this week. He's taken his policies to a new extreme. He's argued that people should be let out of jail without any bail, no matter what they did to get in there. He's argued to release 1/3 of all prisoners. 1/3 of all prisoners out of touch.
Quickly, 15 seconds. Would you have voted for that Pat Toomey supported bill? If you
I
were
would have
in the
tried to
Senate?
improve that bill. There are things that I think most of us appreciate. I wasn't there at the time, so I can't speak to what was possible. But I do know there are parts of that bill that do make sense, and the ones I described should be followed. Let's see how it works out.
Okay, thank you. Lisa.
On to
Yeah, I agree. He wasn't there, so you just kind of got to see how it works out. This was a kind of a gotcha question with for Oz, because a lot of people believe there should be no restraints, and I'm one of those people. I'll admit it. I mean, it's you have the right to bear arms, and the government shouldn't say one way or the other. Okay, so strengthen background checks. Nothing wrong with that, I suppose. And okay, yeah, that doesn't hinder me buying a firearm. Okay, yeah, I guess that's fine. Yeah, I mean, like he said, we gotta see how it plays out. I guess he wasn't there. Gotta see what the rest of the bill and everything how it plays out.
our next issue, and that is illegal immigration. It has been a problem in the United States for decades, but it is now spiking. U.S. Customs and Border Protection just released numbers from fiscal year 2022. They show more than 2.7 million total enforcement actions in the U.S. That is the most ever. Mr. Oz, beginning with you. Republican governors in the South have been sending migrants to Democratic-run cities and states without a plan or without any coordination. It is certainly gaining a lot of attention, but is it an effective way to deal with the influx of migrants? You have 60 seconds.
Lisa, we have a catastrophe at the border, and we should not have sanctuary cities as John Fetterman has tried to introduce. But I've been into the parts of Philadelphia and Allentown and Reading where we have large Latino populations. I understand the challenges of the border. My father was an immigrant. My mother were immigrants. I understand what legal immigration offers us, but the completely porous, open nature of our border, which John Fetterman supports, has created a humanitarian crisis with cartels profiting with human trafficking operations. They take the money, they buy narcotics from China and bring that into our country, and it's making every state a border state. Pennsylvania is already a border state because we're top 3 in the country in fentanyl overdoses. Lisa, I can't go anywhere.
And the fentanyl's coming from China, so come on now. We need to crack down on China.
Where giving a big event where I don't meet multiple people who say their personal lives have been destroyed because of fentanyl overdoses. Yet John Fetterman not only wants an open border, not only supports sanctuary cities, but he wants to legalize all hard drugs in America, including narcotics. That is, out of touch with everybody. That radical position was tried in Oregon, which he endorsed, 50% homicide increase rate.
Oh, one moment. I will give a 15-second rebuttal.
Yeah, that is, again, the Oz rule. That is just not true.
The Oz rule. There we go again. The Oz rule. It's not true, man. That just makes you sound stupid.
Here his family's
he
company
does sound
was levied the largest fine for immigration hiring of immigrant illegals. And I think you should sit this one out in terms of what a secure border.
All right. We do have a follow-up specifically for you, Mr. Fetterman. Vice President Kamala Harris says the southern border is secure, yet we are seeing an unprecedented number of migrants crossing. Is the border secure? And if not, what would you do to fix what both parties are calling a crisis? You have 60 seconds, Mr. Fetterman.
I believe that a secure border is can be compatible with compassion. I believe we need a comprehensive and bipartisan solution for immigration. That's what I believe. I don't ever recall in the Statue of Liberty did they say, take our tired, huddled masses and put them on a bus and use cheap political stunts about them. I believe we have to.
People are willing, they're volunteering to get on those buses. No one's forcing them to get on a bus. They're like, hey, we got tickets to Martha's Vineyard. People get on the bus, they get on the bus. They're provided a meal, they're provided lodging, they're provided services, and it's at their own will. So you're saying grown people can't make up their own mind if they want to go somewhere?
Develop a comprehensive and bipartisan solution to address our issue here for immigration here in our nation.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. On to the
But
next
John's
issue.
not addressing the
we
elephant in the
have
room,
to move
fentanyl.
on. We have to move on to the next issue. We will be.
Yeah, let's why can't he have a rebuttal to that? Come on.
Circling back on that.
Turning now to foreign policy. Mr. Fetterman, what do you believe is the greatest foreign threat to the United States of America? You have 60 seconds.
Joe Biden.
I believe, is right now is China. I believe China is not our friend, and I believe that we can't be able to push back, and we need to stand against China.
Okay, I totally agree with that. Where do you think your materials are coming from for EVs and making solar panels and windmills? China! Just saying.
And I believe that Dr. Oz has chosen to manufacture all of his merchandise on his name on it in China. Which one of us on this stage is going to stand up against and stand firm against China? And I believe that's our single biggest issue right now, to make sure that we address China and make sure that we know that it's not our friend.
Mr. Oz, what do you believe is the greatest foreign threat to the United States of America? You have 60 seconds.
The fact that our country is not projecting strength. Take, for example, what we're doing with Iran. In order to try to get them to give us a little oil so we can deal with the catastrophe that Russia has caused, we have gone to them and tried to sign a deal that would allow them once again to have the nuclear power to blow up Israel, which they promised they would do. John Fetterman supports that deal. It doesn't make any sense for America to treat our enemies better than our allies. We have to message with our strong voice and the energy we have in our country that we have control over our future. And the best way for America to establish its dominance is to unleash the energy here in Pennsylvania and across the country. By not doing that, not only do we cause all kinds of problems with local jobs and inflation, but we're destroying our ability to remain energy dominant, and we're not able to become allies like we should be for countries like European nations, which are going to struggle with their coldest winter ever. It's the best way to punch Putin back and to teach China a lesson is American energy to reign supreme. And John Fetterman doesn't like American energy, and they are scared of him because they know they can't trust him. He's proven it.
Mr. Oz, thank you. Lisa.
All right, on to our next issue. In our recent Nexstar poll, a hypothetical rematch between Joe Biden and Donald Trump in 2024 would be a statistical tie in Pennsylvania. 46% of people said they would vote for former President Trump, 45% for President Biden. Mr. Oz, would you support a Trump 2024 run, and why 60 seconds?
I'll support whoever the Republican Party puts up. And I have reached out across the aisle on my campaign because I want to bring balance to Washington. And I've tried to work with Democrats and Republicans and people in the middle, and people unsure, and people who forgot, and people who got angry with where their party was headed. I want to bring us together to make this country do what it's always been able to do. Unify, not divide, and address the problems as a surgeon, because in the OR, that's what I do. I just fix the big problem in front of me. John Fetterman, however, cannot go to Washington and work with the other side because he doesn't even get along with his own side. He criticized Joe Biden for not spending enough money and not sidling up close enough to Bernie Sanders. He says he won't work with Joe Manchin. He said, if you like Joe Manchin, don't vote for me. So if you're picking fights with your own party, you're not going to be able to reach across the aisle to the other side. His extreme positions have made him untenable for Republican lawmakers. We need to send someone to Washington who understands the importance of balance, sensible decision-making, and a common sense approach to the challenges that we all face. That's not John Fetterman.
Mr. Oz, Donald Trump has supported you. He has endorsed you. Why won't you fully commit to supporting him in 2024?
Oh, I do. I would support Donald Trump if he decided to run for president.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty clear, but okay. I mean, I guess he did dance around it, but hey, there you go. He said he would support whoever the nominee is, which I think that's a blind thing to do no matter what side you're on. Coming from, I'm more of a libertarian. Um, then I don't believe in this whole two-party system, but fortunately, things are serious and there's no good libertarian candidates typically lately, and you know, I don't want a Democrat to win, so I'm gonna vote for a Republican. That's just how it is, and you know, I kind of want DeSantis to be president, but yeah, Trump, I'll vote for him too. Definitely not. I wouldn't vote for Joe. I mean, he's just gonna eat ice cream and mumble and not know where he's at. Get lost at a tree planting ceremony in the rose garden.
But this is bigger than one candidate. This is a much bigger story about how we are going to build a bigger tent to let more Americans feel safe.
Are you concerned about the ongoing legal investigations involving the former president? 30 seconds, sir.
I haven't followed them very carefully. I've been campaigning pretty aggressively. They'll work themselves out. I have tremendous confidence in the American legal system, and I believe law and order will reign supreme. But speaking about that topic, there's one person on this stage who's broken the law, we believe. John Fetterman took a shotgun, chased an unarmed African-American man, and put the gun, apparently, according to that man, to his chest. John, you weren't pulled over by the police. They let you go. You were the mayor at the time. Why haven't you apologized to that unarmed, innocent black man who you put a shotgun to his chest?
All right, we will allow a 30-second response to that, Mr. Fetterman.
Did that actually happen? Oh my God, I kind of heard something about that, but like I'm not in Pennsylvania, so I have no clue. Oh my God. And people will vote for this white dude that chased a black guy, pointed a gun. That just seems weird that you all would vote for this white guy.
Specifically what he was saying, referring to the incident in Braddock.
I made the opportunity to defend our community as the chief law enforcement officer there. Everybody in Braddock, an overwhelming majority community of black community, all understood what happened. You know, they understood what happened, and everybody agreed that, and nobody believes that it was anything about me making a split-second decision to defend our community as well.
Why not apologize?
Mr. Oz, please. We are still with.
No, that's true. Yeah, why not apologize then? You just keep saying, oh, well, I made a split-second decision. Well, was the wrong decision? People make wrong decisions. Apologize.
Mr. Fetterman, turning to you right now. You support a Biden run. Do you support a Biden run in 2024? Why in 60 seconds?
That's obviously, it's up to his choice whether he, and if he does choose to run, I would absolutely support him. But ultimately, that's ultimately only his choice.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman. A follow-up question on this. Our Next Star poll shows 51% of Pennsylvania voters disapprove of the president's job performance. You have publicly supported many of his policy positions. Are there any that you disagree with? 30 seconds.
No, I just believe he needs to do more about supporting and fighting about inflation. And I do believe he can do more about that. But at the end of the day, I think Joe Biden is a good family man, and I believe he stands for the union way of life. And I believe that unemployment is already down to the lowest level in the last 50 years.
Joe Biden is a big pedo. He sniffs every single woman, touches little girls inappropriately on, in front of cameras. He swam naked in front of his Secret Service agent who was a female. Agents were told do not get in the elevator alone with the guy. Yeah, I don't support anything President Biden because he's a pedophile. And he's corrupt. Taking money from Ukraine, paying people off. So Hunter getting paid back from China and probably Russia even. He made a lot of money for being just a senator. I mean, they make good money, but come on now. Not that type of money for multiple multi-million-dollar homes. I mean, Fetterman wants to complain that Oz has 10 mansions. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but how about Joe Biden? How about Bernie Sanders, by the way?
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Dennis.
Let's turn now, gentlemen, to the issue of Social Security. It is only fully funded through 2034. Many Americans are worried that they will never receive their full benefit or have to accept cuts to their benefits. Mr. Fetterman, how are you going to make sure it is there for them? You have 60 seconds.
We need to make sure that Dr. Oz and the Republicans believe in cutting Medicare and Social Security. And I believe that they have to support and expand Social Security. And if somebody send me to Washington, D.C., I would support and stand and to support security, Social Security.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Oz.
What? Well, that provided zero. So you're a Democrat. You're responding to my video. You tell me how that would make you vote for Fetterman, because that made no sense whatsoever.
Same question to you. How are you going to make sure that Social Security is available for
Finally, the
future
same
Americans?
question.
You have 60 seconds.
We made a deal with the wonderful seniors of our nation. They worked their hearts out. They paid into a program. No one's going to touch it on my watch except to make sure that it's stronger than it is right now. Social Security, Medicare, which I know a lot about as a doctor, are the fundamental element of security for our seniors, and they deserve to feel like they're valued by our nation. John Fetterman, again, has been running ads and saying that I'm against those with no proof. I've never said anything different than what I'm saying to you on this stage. But in an effort to fearmonger with people who are older and can be taken advantage of, he'll run these ads. John, it's reprehensible, but it's also reflective of your approach to doing these things. You haven't shown up on the campaign trail. You haven't answered questions from voters, not once on the campaign trail. You haven't answered questions from media once on the campaign trail, even just to show off that you could do it. And this is the only debate I could get you to come to talk to me on. And I had to beg on my knees to get you to come. And if it wasn't for Dennis probably getting involved, I don't think it would have happened.
Look.
Seniors need to know more about your radical left positions, and I need to be able to tell them about my positions. That's what democracy is built on. We exchange ideas, the voters decide. You have hidden from them.
Mr. Oz,
That is so true. Fetterman has hidden from the whole media. Well, I had a stroke, though. Well, then you're not fit to run if you can't get out there and campaign. If you can't get in front of a camera and have these so-called debates, you can't. Then what makes you fit for being a senator? Nothing. You're not even fit to be a dog catcher.
I'm going to let you have 15 seconds in a moment, Mr. Fetterman, but can you give us a specific example of what you would do to protect Social Security?
Well, for one, we have to make sure that it adequately increases with the higher inflation rates that we have. So we've got to make that 4% of wasted money that right now is in the budget redirected appropriately. And one of the first places that I would use it is Social Security and Medicare. And here's the reason. One of the worst things we can do to a people is give them bad quality care. And so if you have if you have people who are not going to see a doctor, for example, because they can't afford it, they'll get sicker. Bad medicine means more cost. No one benefits.
Thank you. Mr. Fetterman, he said a few things a moment ago. I want to give you 15 seconds to respond to those.
Now,
I get it. He's reading it off the screen, but still, he could also hear, so he doesn't need the whole screen thing every time. You're saying he's going to have to read shit off the screen as a senator? That ain't going to work. You're not going to be able to do your job in the Senate.
again, I can't just say one thing other than that Dr. Oz would not support, and he would support cutting Medicare. And that's
John,
Why would he support it?
do you say that? I've never said that.
It's absolutely a fact. It's a fact. You would have voted against the Inflation Reduction Act, which has dropped our prescription drugs, and he doesn't believe.
Okay, gentlemen, we need to.
He's never said it. You're just making up bullshit. You're incompetent. You had a stroke, sorry, but you're not fit to run. Oh well, move on with your life, Fetterman.
Move on. Lisa.
All right, we are moving on to the topic of education. The cost of college tuition is now out of reach for many, many families. Our question is for both of you. We start with Mr. Oz. What is your plan to bring down the cost of higher education long term? You have 1 minute, Mr. Oz.
I've worked in academic medical centers my whole life, so I'm in higher education. And I can tell you the reason that the prices have gone up sixfold in the last 40 years is not because the education quality is better. We've added extra layers of middle level individuals who don't actually improve the quality education, in my opinion. There's a lot of expenses now incurred by these institutions, and it's not right for the American people to be stuck with the bill. I would push them to offer more electronic classes. Half the kids don't live on campus anyway. John Fetterman's approach, however, is not to deal with the unnecessarily high costs, but just to pay it. So if you want to pay students who didn't pay their loans back, basically what John Fetterman and Joe Biden are arguing for is for plumbers who didn't go to college and couldn't, for a bunch of reasons, afford it, to pay the bills of lawyers who went to graduate school and haven't paid their debt back. I don't think that's right for the American people. We want a fair system. Drop the cost down by pushing for more value for the money we're spending, and then ensure there's a high-quality education that lets people make a living when they graduate.
All right, I will allow a 15-second rebuttal specifically on the issue of student loan debt, which Mr. Oz was referring to. Mr. Fetterman.
Again, Dr. Oz, loves free money when it's a $500,000 tax break on one of his, homes down in a ranch in Florida. And whether it was a $50 tax break, about his farm in Montgomery County. So it's about support.
A $50 tax break? Man, I can go out to a fast food restaurant with a family. $50.
Supporting and helping, young earners, young students
He has that Twitch going.
to give them a break.
So,
I believe
woo.
that supporting
The woo shot.
All right, let me just ask specifically with the plan to ease student loan debt, the debt forgiveness of $10,000, $20,000 for Pell Grant recipients. Do you support that position?
I do absolutely support that. I believe, like I said, it's about helping young learners, be able to get a better start, getting off in the start of their life. And I do believe that, and I believe a majority of Americans support that as well too, helping young learners.
Whoa, this guy can't speak whatsoever. I know he had a stroke, but once again, oh my God. Oh my God. Woo.
All right, Mr. Fetterman, I want to ask you the same question that I asked Mr. Oz. And what is your plan to bring down the cost of higher education long term? You have 1 minute.
Yeah, I don't think he didn't answer. He didn't answer the question whatsoever.
I did answer the question.
I believe,
Mr. Oz, please give him a moment.
You didn't. I fundamentally believe that every quality public university education should be very affordable in every state, and I think that needs to be a significant investment, to make sure that anyone be able to afford to go to get a 4-degree university degree, at Penn State or at Pitt or any state schools, to make it much more affordable. And that means acquiring a significant investment to make sure and create it affordable that every family can afford.
How exactly, Mr. Fetterman, do you propose doing that to make it more affordable for families?
No, I just making it that much.
I believe in fairy dust. That's how we're going to. Okay, here I go. I'm not, as I said, a public speaker. I'm not a political person. But this is what I would say. How would you make it affordable? Well, I would first start off by making tuition lower. I would get rid of loans, federal loans for tuition. Yes, that might seem like it will hurt initially, but long term it will drive the cost down, because if somebody can't pay $20,000-$30,000 for school because the school knows they can get a loan for that much, well, then they're gonna have to, the school is gonna need students, so they're gonna have to bring down the cost to, maybe 10,000, maybe 5,000 even. They're gonna have to bring the cost down to attract students. So that would be a good thing. I think the student loan program, unfortunately, I don't blame the universities for this. If I was a university and I knew you get the loan, of course I'm going to raise tuition rates. I'm going to continually raise the tuition because I know you can get a loan. Now, whether your degree will mean you can pay it back, that's your problem. You're a young adult. You should have known that. You should have researched that. And so first thing I would do is get rid of the student loan program, and that would kind of hurt or at least phase it out. Maybe don't cold turkey it, maybe you phase it out, and then the schools would have to rely on getting students, so they would lower their cost, and that would be a good thing. Or maybe just say, hey, look, all we're going to give you for a student loan is $5,000. That's all we're going to give you. Put caps on it. There's really no cap. I mean, you can go to these schools. I mean, the government will give you the money, and that's sad. And they'll give you money for any degree. Some people would argue, well, government shouldn't be involved as far as what degree can get. You know, you want to be a basket weaver, you want gender studies, then so be it. Well, I'm sorry, my tax money shouldn't be going to you for a degree field that you have no hope in paying back. If you're going to have student loans, the government should control who gets them, who doesn't get them. Hey, you want government in control of your abortion, right? But you don't want them in control of your education. You know, oh no, they shouldn't be in control. There should be no set limit or what programs you can go into. Yeah, there should be. If I'm loaning you my tax money, I should have some say into that. I don't want it to go to basket weaving or gender studies or any field that you're not going to be. And it should be like, you need a loan for $300,000 for gender studies. No, this is what you qualify for. You qualify for $20,000. That's it. Because you'll probably be able to pay that back. I think we have done students a disservice by loaning them money for pointless degrees. And that comes on the government, and that comes on the school for not saying, you know, let's sit down and talk about this education, what you're looking to do. And they don't do that, and they should do that. I mean, there is ways we could go about lowering the cost of tuition for higher education, but also, if you're going to provide loans, well, why can't I get a loan from the federal government for being a plumber or electrician or carpentry or something? I mean, why? A welder? Why can't I? Should be able also, if it's fair across the board, I should be able to take out a loan for that too. But watch, if you did do that, then those would go really sky high for what tuition or education would cost, you know? So, anyways.
Well, it costs too much, and I believe providing the resources to reduce the tuition to allow families to be able to afford it.
All right.
I'm going to believe, and I'm just going to somehow, they'll reduce tuition.
All right, we have a follow-up question. This one now is for both of you. This is from News Nation viewer Ann Andrews, a registered nurse from Conneautville near Erie. Ann is a vocational educational instructor for a university and a practicing registered nurse.
If you were elected, could you please tell me what you would be doing for vocational education in the state of Pennsylvania as well as our nation?
So, Mr. Oz, if elected, what would you do for vocational education? You have 30 seconds.
I've visited vocational schools. I have an answer, but John, because obviously I wasn't clear enough for you to understand this. There's no question that cutting out the middle levels of higher education and providing digital programs would reduce the cost of education. It's a concrete set of ideas that I'd like to move on. With regard to vocational education, this is really important for us to allow our trade unions to get more closely linked with the vocational schools. I was in a vocational school in Westmoreland, and they have about 1,000 kids. They could take 2,000 kids. Funding those programs is the smartest way to invest our tax dollars. We'll turn out twice as many children who have a job as soon as they graduate. It supports our trade unions who want those kids in their positions anyway. It makes the whole program work.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to need plumbers, electricians, roofers, carpenters, people that do landscaping even. I mean, you can make really good money doing all that stuff. But we promote a piece of paper over trades. That's sad, because a lot of people, they do better if they were in the trades, and if they could do that and maybe start off in high school, you know.
Mr. Oz, Mr. Fetterman, if elected, what would you do for vocational education? You have 30 seconds.
Again, I think it's just the same way that university for degrees as well too. Supporting that and partnering with the unions and making sure that vocation training are is affordable and providing the resources to make sure everyone has the opportunity. Going to college isn't the right choice for every person, but going to those kind of vocational schools, able to create a career to Wayne. Reach a lot of high salary, and again, supporting to reduce those costs are critical too.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Dennis.
Moving now, multiple members of Congress, specifically Democrats, have called for the Supreme Court to be expanded. Candidates, we want to know where you stand on this.
Back in the court.
Mr. Fetterman, should the Supreme Court be expanded? And if so,
no.
By how many justices? You have 60 seconds.
I don't believe, I don't stand, and I don't believe in that. I fundamentally believe that even though I don't agree with the ideological breakup of the Supreme Court, I believe it's not about changing the rules. It's about acknowledging where we're at, much the way the Republicans want to try to change the Constitution about how our Supreme Court in Pennsylvania was going to be done, and I don't support that. So I think it's critical that we be consistent, and I do not believe in supporting the Supreme Court.
Well, that's going to get a lot of Dems mad, because a lot of Democrats, at least the media says, that, we need to pack the court. We need more justices just because, we don't get our way. Really, who's to say? I mean, the justices should be pretty blind, right? Liberty justice? Blindfolded?
Mr. Oz, same question to you. Should the Supreme Court be expanded? If so, by how many justices? You have 60 seconds.
I would never touch the makeup of the Supreme Court, and I would advocate to leave it the exact same size it is. But John Fetterman's radical positions have spilled over into what he would do in Washington. One of the first things he has said, and he came back to the campaign trail, is that he wanted to bust the filibuster, which means removing the brakes on the Senate overreacting. That's
true. That is true.
But if you do that, then you would free up the Democrats in the Senate without getting the normal amount of votes to actually expand the Supreme Court, add more states, do things that are detrimental to the well-being of the country. So I think, on your first day back, arguing that we should get rid of the filibuster is a dangerously radical move that would hurt Washington. It's not in our nation's best interest.
Thank you both.
Yeah, because tides could turn, and then if you're a Democrat, then it'd be used against you. Don't you guys see that? Don't you understand that?
Very much.
All right, at this time, we are ready for our closing statements. You each have 90 seconds to convince Pennsylvanians to vote for you on Election Day. Mr. Fetterman, you are first, 90 seconds.
Once again, I would just like to say that my campaign is all about fighting for anyone in Pennsylvania that ever got knocked down, that had to get back up again. I'm also fighting for any forgotten community all across Pennsylvania that ever got knocked down, that had to be made to get back up. I've made my entire career dedicating to those kinds of pursuits. I started as a GED instructor back in Braddock over 20 years ago, because I believe it's about serving Pennsylvania, not about using Pennsylvania for their own end interests as well. To me, careers are revealed by your real underlying values. And my values have always been about fighting for forgotten communities all across Pennsylvania.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Mr. Oz, your final thoughts, 90 seconds.
I've loved traveling to the four corners of the beautiful Commonwealth, and I've heard your problems. I'm a surgeon, doctor. I listened to what you say, and I'm trying to help address them today. I've talked to seniors worried their Social Security checks wouldn't go far enough with the raging inflation. I've talked to couples when I make their first down payment on a new house and they can't afford it anymore because of interest rates. I've talked to families.
You want to cut Social Security.
Mr. Fetterman, it's his turn for his closing.
I've talked to families worried about fentanyl showing up in their mailbox and literally taking the lives of their children, who they find blue in bed. I've talked to families who won't let their kids go outside because of the crime wave that's been facilitated by left radical policies like the ones John Fetterman has been advocating for. But here's the deal, right? None of this has to happen. This is all very addressable. I'm a surgeon. I'm not a politician. We take big problems, we focus on them, and we fix them. We do it by uniting, by coming together, not dividing. And by doing that, we can get ahead. But I've got one question to challenge you with, just one question. If you take what I'm saying to heart, ask yourself this and others in your family. Are you unhappy with where America's headed? I am. And if you are as well, then I'm the candidate for change. I'm a living embodiment of the American dream. I believe we're the land of opportunity, the land of plenty. I believe we can balance a budget without recklessly spending. I believe we can have an unleashed energy policy that helps us all. I believe that we can have safe city streets and a secure border so legal immigrants can come across, but you shut the fentanyl out. I believe we can give parents choice in where their kids go to school. We can have affordable health care. But most of all, I believe in you. And if you can do this together, and we can, I would ask for your vote on Election Day. God bless you.
We do have one final question, an important issue in Pennsylvania.
I thought we were closing.
The eyes of the state are on this debate tonight, but on Sunday they will be on Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia as the state's two NFL teams go head-to-head. Mr. Fetterman, Steelers or Eagles, and why?
Stupid question.
Oh, clearly, always for the Steelers.
Mr. Oz.
I'll be at the game rooting for my Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Gentlemen, thank you both so much. This does conclude our debate. We do want to thank our candidates for being with us, Mr. Fetterman and Mr. Oz, and for all of you at home who have been watching. Thank you so much.
And we want to thank our team at WHTM for hosting us at their studios tonight. Remember, voters, that Election Day is just 2 weeks from today on Tuesday, November 8th. Thanks for being with us.
Okay, I'm going to end it there. Now interject my ending to this. Oh my God, Fetterman did horrible. I can see what the media is talking about. That's why I'm doing this video. Oh my God, this is probably like 2 hour long of me sitting here. But, so I'm sorry about that, but I think it's important to get these type of videos out there. I think it's important for a normal person like myself to react. Yes, I am a little biased because yes, I'd vote for Trump. Yes, I'm predispositioned to vote for probably Oz, although I thought he was a quack on TV with weird medical, treatment sometimes, medical people in my family, and, I don't know. But it's kind of one of those things, some people will believe something, some, and that can go back to the whole poke and getting the jab, and some believe it, some don't, Is there really a right or wrong answer? Maybe not. Maybe it's as easy as there isn't. You believe in it, you take it. You don't. So be it, then the medical personnel or people are divided on that topic alone. So yeah, they're going to be divided on other topics. So I don't 100% like Oz, but in this debate, seeing these two, I don't see how you would vote for Fetterman. I mean, I would just not vote at that point, because if I'm determined I won't vote for Oz just because of the whole abortion thing, which I think is stupid that you're going to base your vote around one topic. And he's, like he said, it goes back to the state. He's in the Senate. It has nothing to do with how he votes, because he can't, if Pennsylvania decides to, hey, abortion's legal, Oz will be on board with that because it goes back to the states. He's okay with the state making the decisions. And if somebody down the road, maybe 20 years down the road, wants to say, hey, in Pennsylvania, it's going to be illegal, so be it. Then the people have spoken and it's illegal. It goes back to the states. And maybe we need to focus more on education as far as sex ed. Apparently, a lot of people don't know you can get pregnant and that it takes a man and a woman. And yes, there's two genders. And if you don't like me saying that, too bad. So, I don't see how you would vote for Fetterman. I don't see how people are defending. I don't see how the left media is like, oh my God, John Fetterman, poor guy, he had a stroke. They want to play on that. Well, he had nothing good to say. He barely even was able to speak and get through this, and you can see him reading the board, okay, granted. But surely his hearing not working? I don't understand why the visual would have been better than the hearing, or a combination that, yeah, I kind of got it there as a safety net for the reading, but yes, I could still react. And well, he couldn't react fast enough. Something in his brain has malfunctioned because of the stroke, and he's having problems putting the words he wants to say out there. Thus he's stumbling and stammering around, and maybe saying the wrong thing. He's going to do the same thing in the Senate. He's going to be like, hey, I mean, no, come on, you can't do that. You're going to have to debate in the Senate. You're going to have to talk with the other side. If you can't, clearly express your thoughts and how you'll do things, then how can you govern? I'm sorry, John Fetterman. You had a stroke. That stinks, but you did, and now you're out to pasture. You're no longer able to run for such an office of the land, whether senator. I mean, but then again, look at the president of the United States. You got Joe Biden, who clearly has dementia. Something's going on there. He's not all with it. He gets lost. He gets confused. But at least he's an old man, and you were like, yeah, it's clear he has dementia. But he was elected. We could debate that if you want, but okay, he was elected, and it's scary that people will elect incompetence just because they don't like the other person. That is scary. That is real scary. You're willing to vote for a turd sandwich. That is scary. Yes, Joe Biden is a turd sandwich, and so is John Fetterman. Well, I don't know how you guys can sleep at night voting for crap because you don't like the other side. Just don't vote. Why don't you just not vote? That makes more sense to me. Yeah, I don't like this side, I don't like that side. There's no third option. I'm just not voting for either of these. That makes more sense to me, but okay, whatever. So hopefully sharing this debate helps you all out. Yeah, it's just my opinions. But at least you kind of got to see the debate, and it's kind of whole. Of course, I have to talk during it because it's fair use, And that's it for the Pennsylvania Senate debate between John Fetterman and Dr. Oz. So you, at the end of the day, you're going to be deciding. So you decide. Have a good one.